In a small village nestled on the edge of the savannah, where the golden grass stretched as far as the eye could see, there lived a hunter named Kwame. Kwame was the most skilled hunter the village had ever known. His arrows never missed, his traps were always full, and his name was spoken with reverence around the evening fires. But with skill came pride, and over time Kwame's humility began to wane. "There is no beast I cannot defeat," Kwame boasted one evening as the villagers gathered under the ancient baobab tree. "I have faced leopards, hyenas, and even the great buffalo. None have bested me." The elders, who had seen many seasons, exchanged worried glances. Pride, they knew, could be a hunter's downfall. Among the listeners was an old woman named Adisa, known for her wisdom and her connection to the spirit world. She leaned on her walking stick and said, "Kwame, the savannah is vast, and the spirits of the land are older than any of us. Do not let your pride anger them." Kwame laughed. "The spirits? Let them send their fiercest beast. I will bring it back as a trophy." The villagers murmured uneasily, but no one dared challenge him further. That night, as the drums of the village faded into the quiet hum of the savannah, a subtle change came over the air. The wind carried whispers, and the animals seemed to watch with knowing eyes. The next morning, Kwame set out with his bow, arrows, and a pouch of provisions. His aim was to prove, once and for all, that he was not only the best hunter in the village, but also untouchable by any force, mortal or spiritual. As he stepped into the tall grass, the world seemed to hold its breath. Hours passed, but the savannah was eerily silent. No gazelles bounded across the plains, no warthogs snorted as they dug in the earth. Even the birds were quiet. Kwame felt a strange unease, but he shook it off. "The animals must fear me so much that they're hiding," he muttered to himself. As the sun climbed higher, Kwame spotted paw prints in the dirt. They were massive, larger than any lions he had ever seen. The prints led deeper into the grasslands, toward a grove of acacia trees. His heart raced, half with excitement, half with something he refused to name. "This will be my greatest trophy yet," he thought. Following the tracks, Kwame reached the grove. The air here felt different, heavier, as though unseen eyes were watching him. He nocked an arrow and stepped carefully, his every sense on high alert. Suddenly, the tall grass rustled to his left. He spun, bow drawn, but saw nothing. Then, to his right, the sound of heavy breathing, low, deep, and steady. Yet there was no one there. "Who's there?" Kwame called out, his voice sharper than he intended. The only reply was silence, thick and oppressive. He moved cautiously, scanning the area. Then, with a roar that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, an invisible force knocked him to the ground. Kwame's bow flew from his hands and he scrambled backward, his heart pounding. "Show yourself!" he shouted, gripping his hunting knife. The only response was a low, rumbling growl that seemed to vibrate through his very bones. For hours, Kwame was hunted. The invisible lion, for that was surely what it was, toyed with him, letting him glimpse its massive paw prints, hearing its breath close but never seeing it. It swiped at him, close enough to tear his clothes but never his flesh. His confidence began to crumble, replaced by fear and desperation. As night fell, Kwame found himself at the edge of the grove, exhausted and defeated. He sank to his knees, clutching the ground. "Spirits of the savannah," he whispered. "I was wrong. I have disrespected the balance of this land. Please forgive me." The wind stirred, carrying the scent of earth and grass. The growling stopped, and for the first time all day, there was silence, a calm, peaceful silence. Kwame looked up and saw a pair of glowing eyes in the darkness staring at him. Slowly, the eyes blinked and disappeared. The next morning, Kwame returned to the village, his steps slower, his head bowed. The villagers gathered around, eager to hear his tale, but the prideful hunter they knew was gone. Instead, a humbled man stood before them. "I was wrong to boast," Kwame admitted. "The savannah is not mine to conquer. It is a gift we must respect." Adisa nodded, her eyes gleaming with approval. "The spirits have taught you well." From that day on, Kwame became a different kind of hunter. He still provided for the village, but he did so with reverence for the land and its creatures. and though he never spoke of the invisible lion again, he often visited the grove, leaving offerings of meat and water as a sign of gratitude and respect. The villagers too learned from his experience. Around the evening fires, they would tell the story of Kwame and the invisible lion, passing down the lesson that pride must always be tempered with humility, and that the spirits of the savannah are always watching. Please like and subscribe. Also share the story your best friend.